Hey, John.
Welcome back to Mostly Security.
Yeah, welcome back. How was vacation last week?
It was good. It was good. You know, one of the nice things about it was we were down on the southern coast of Oregon, and it was, maybe 70 degrees. And then we come back into the valley and went, "Oh, that's right. They were having a heat wave. We didn't miss this."
Yes. No, it was painful. And people in other parts of the country just scoff, but it was in the mid 90s that we about died.
Oh, yes, first world problems. First world problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. A minor little thing, still on the personal end, but remember I was setting my bees up with some stuff before I left, so that they would hopefully get
Yeah.
honey, and they totally filled. I got those other frames from my friend, put them in, and they totally filled the entire top box. I'm totally getting honey in another few weeks. Super excited about that.
Nice, beekeeper John.
Beekeeper John. But you know what? So I'm trying to lift it. I don't know what that thing weighs. 60 pounds? I don't know. It's heavy. Heavy.
That's a lot of honey.
I know. I'll give you some. I promise.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Well, hopefully it'll be good. But
Well, I'd offer to give you some of what I'm going to get tomorrow. I'm going fishing tomorrow with
nice.
my oldest daughter and son and a friend who's got a boat, and hopefully we catch a lot of fish. So
Good luck.
I'll trade you some trout for some honey.
No, thanks. I'm good.
All right. Well, I guess we can jump into some follow-up from last week, which you called me on. I guess I don't know. It's not that big a deal, but the Costco thing.
Oh,
Getting
that's
rid
right.
of the Polish dogs.
That's right. Because you and I went to lunch there on Monday, so we could try and catch the Polish dogs before they disappeared.
Right, for the last time. And they were already out, but they still had hot dogs.
They were gone.
So
How?
I don't know how you get rid of Polish dogs with the excuse you're trying to be more healthy, but then still have the hot dogs.
No, it's just an excuse. It's just an excuse. Yeah.
But did you see that Sam's Club, kind of the Costco competitor,
I did not.
They jumped on the, okay, well, hey, come to Sam's Club.
We have Polish dogs.
We are offering, they added Polish dogs to their menu.
I did not see that, but I find that hilarious.
I wonder how many locations, probably the bigger cities. We don't have a Sam's Club around here up in Oregon and the Portland area, but I don't know how prevalent they are elsewhere. If there's like a Costco across the street from a Sam's Club, kind of like there's always a Lowe's and a Home Depot a short drive from each other.
I don't know. We're not next door, but relatively close to the epicenter of Costco and very far away from the epicenter of Walmart. So
this is true.
I don't know. Could be a proximity thing. Okay.
Anyway.
Well, yeah, I was sad about that, but
Yep. No more Polish dogs.
Yeah. Sorry. One more quick comment about that. I don't know if I didn't see the article that you linked in the notes last week, but the article that I saw had a quote from the Costco guy that was like, "Well, we're replacing it with this other salad thing," and the quote was so non-supportive. It was like, "I tried one. It was okay if you like that kind of thing." I mean, it was the most hilarious, non-supportive quote from the actual company that you could have almost. I was able to choke
awesome.
it down. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. I'll try one. The picture looks okay, at some point.
Yeah. Well, and I guess one last note that really will just link in the show notes for further review. We talked, or maybe it was you and Peter.
It was me and Peter.
Talked a while back about the deep fakes. The people who wrote something up a while back that got a lot of press have now delivered a much more in-depth law review article. It's almost 60 pages long, and it goes over the legal ramifications. I didn't read it all, but I skimmed through it quite a bit. So if you really are interested in the ramifications of what deep fakes might do legally and socially, it's a very in-depth article. So we just linked to that before we get...
Okay. And just, if there's people that didn't listen to that episode yet, but that deep fake is the how you can make a video look and sound completely realistic.
Right, of somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By tracking, facial motion. It's kind of like Animoji, except quote unquote real life and with somebody else's face. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was...
And you have to mock up their voice.
Yeah.
Or you have to mimic their voice.
Yeah. That was episode 19, the JavaScript episode.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because I was talking to Peter because you were on the road and we got to talk JavaScript since you couldn't defend your indefensible position. It's all good. All right. What do you got? What do you got for me tonight for a topic?
Well, I had two. One really quick. I just wanted to make a quick comment on. There is a citizen ID card in India that's based on biometric and demographic data, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. It's Aadhaar, Aadhaar, and it made the news recently because the Minister for Information Technology said, and this is the quote, "The system contains my fingerprints and my iris scan kept in a safe and secure condition which cannot be broken into even with billion efforts." And that right there just says, please come hack me.
It's not,
it's,
the weak spot is never the actual math. Well,
No.
Occasionally, but that's
unless it's cryptocurrencies, then
well, only if you try to invent your own math.
No, yeah, but that's so. Link to that article. It's an interesting position to take because like you said, it's not about the math. There's people that have to deal with that data. There's people that move it places. And still the number one problem to all of security is the social engineering of getting the data elsewhere. It's not necessarily hacking the encryption.
Yep.
Anyways.
Yep. Yeah, one of our friends down at work was talking to me about that card just maybe a month ago. Because there's evidently a lot of fur in India about the push for it, and
right.
I think the current prime minister had said he wasn't, and now he's pushing hard against essentially the exact opposite of his campaign. And anyway, yeah, it's not a
well, they're tying a lot of government services, and if you want a SIM card, and it's kind of becoming a de facto, kind of how the social security number became something it shouldn't have here in the U.S. It has it looks like it's going down that path, because I think their Supreme Court even said, you can't deprive someone who doesn't want to have one of these cards government services, but more and more stuff is being tied to it from what I can tell. Anyways.
Boasting on how you're unhackable is a good way to, taunt the bear, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so the article I actually did, which I really found fascinating, might be slightly too strong, but it was I found it very interesting because it took a relatable concept, a relatable topic, a relatable subject, and allowed me to kind of map that onto cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it's an article. Riot Games is a video game company, and the article or blog post, I guess, really is Riot's approach to anti-cheating. And if you read through this and kind of just replace cheating with, cybersecurity efforts, you can almost it almost maps 1-to-1.
Well, there's some really interesting things in this article. I actually did read through this relatively close, because this is something that I've intersected with a few times in my life. I think I mentioned a couple of episodes ago about EverQuest, and that I had a machine that a Linux box that I put in line to EverQuest, and I could basically see maps. And I actually I want to correct myself, because I'm sometimes pedantic that way. I actually went back and looked at the time range, and EverQuest was released in March of '99, and I moved out of Corvallis in the fall of 2000. So that puts it basically from, the last 3/4 of 99 to the first half, let's say, of 2000, when I was actually running this. So it wasn't the mid to late 90s, maybe super late 90s that I was doing it. So that was one thing. And then again, I don't think I said this last time, but the first software I ever paid for was for a piece of shareware to help me cheat in a game. Did I? I don't think I've said that on the podcast, but it was I used to play on a BBS a game, and you could have shareware that would basically be a TSR. You remember those terminate state resident?
Yeah,
it was a TSR, so you could basically tab out and then enter a command, and it would go and it would play the quote unquote play the game for you on the BBS. This was when you were doing a modem up, and so I paid like $20 or something like that for a automator for one of the BBS games. Anyway, and then late, even let's see, I played a lot of games early on. I used to play World of Warcraft. I haven't played for a good number of years at this point, but I actually got caught and banned from World of Warcraft. I got one of my accounts killed for using what was at the time called Glider, and that was back in 2006. So that was not long after some of this stuff. Anyway, yeah, I've just to say I might have a little tiny itsy bit, not about necessarily implementing some of these anti-cheat things, but just I do occasionally. I mean, I like to play games, but I don't have enough time to play games. So if I can play games and even sometimes think that my computer is playing my game for me, I get a little bit of joy out of that. Anyway.
Well, there you go. I think it's great because they kind of relate. You can look at the game cheaters versus the game developers.
It's totally a race.
In the same way, you can look at the malware authors, people writing malicious software, competing against or going up against the security vendors. Although, as I read through this article, you don't think about, well, the malware authors are the game cheaters and the developers are the security vendors. It's actually flipped.
It is. The
game developers are the malware authors. And especially if you read, I am not a Windows developer at all. And this article relates a lot to Windows DLLs and code injection and being able to do things using Windows binaries and making life difficult for debuggers and whatnot. But
the general mechanisms that they're describing here, like the contortions they're kind of going through to basically build their own packer and unpacker, so that their code segment is encrypted, and they take portions of it and decrypt it in memory, and then that's very malware-esque for
because they are trying to hide their code from the cheaters, because the cheaters will use debuggers and do things that security vendors do, in analyzing malware. So the cheaters are trying to hide and obfuscate and, like you say, build their own packers and figure out ways to protect the data. One of the ones that I thought was also interesting was a common technique is searching through memory, twiddling a bit somewhere and then searching through memory to see what value changed. Well, they'll just move that value from one location to another location. Instead of just changing it in place, they'll move it around.
This was a great article.
Yeah, and it is somewhat technical, but not so much that if that you have to be a Windows expert to kind of get the gist of it. But if you are somewhat technically inclined and want to see, what kind of things bad guys are doing to evade your security software, this post is really relatable because that's what the developers of these games, those same techniques and things they're trying to do, is the same way. And I don't know. I also did think it was a great article.
One of the things this made me think of is, when you're doing things like trying to use machine learning to identify behaviors, like anomalous behaviors or behaviors typical of malware, this is the sort of stuff that they're doing will, light up like a Christmas tree. I would expect it to light up like a Christmas tree.
Right.
If you, obviously for, existing, anti-malware software, presumably they are signing their binaries. You could have a trusted certificate or, there's ways that vendor should be able to not actually, quote unquote false on on League of Legends is the game I don't think you ever actually said what game this is. But, just from a pure machine learned model of malware behavior, my money would be 100% on, this is going to be malware with 100% confidence, from the machine learning model, right?
Yeah, well, that's also an interesting thing is if you are developing these, well, what you just said, if you're developing these type of games and using the same techniques that malware authors use, and as we move away from kind of static analysis to the machine learning or more dynamic analysis of behavior, are we going to false positive?
Right.
On, things like this.
Totally. I mean, without something like a known certificate, and,
right.
Where the binary is signed by a trusted certificate or something like that. But and then you got whose certificate got hacked just recently, and they were signing anyway. It happens.
Yep.
One of the things that's dangerous about using a completely whitelisting gate early on in the sort of pipeline of identification of software for conviction or exoneration for quote unquote badness is if the Microsoft certificate is hacked and is used to sign malware, it's gonna be allowed to run because at least until you realize, oh no, that was hacked, and here's the hash or hashes of the binaries that were done, and then you have a blacklist in front of the whitelisted certificate, and it's tricky sometimes to have what comes first. Do you treat your whitelisted hashes before you hit your blacklisted certificates, before you hit your whitelist? The deciding what to trust first is kind of interesting problem when you've actually got an adversary on the other side. One of the other techniques in here that I don't think you didn't really explicitly mention here, we've got some interesting data, like you said, about just like what is, if somebody says, oh, they hooked something, what is hooking? I love that
right.
notion, which is really, really good. They've got a nice definition here. But one of the things I really liked about this was like the random behavior that they were injecting. So, trying to make it so that every build did things differently. And even within, a given build, you might have I think they used debugger checks as, because one of the things you can try and do is identify whether you're being run underneath a debugger and then alter your behavior,
Right.
Crash the program, to try and prevent somebody from doing analysis. But, because one of the things though that you can do with that is you can find the check and go disable it. But if you randomly sometimes do things in one way and then sometimes do them with another, like maybe you've got 5 checks early on in your program and, it'll randomly bypass the first 2 occasionally. And then so somebody goes and goes, oh, okay, here's where the check is. And they go and they no-op it. And then they try and run it again. They crash it. It still crashes, maybe because one of the first 2 randomly hit this time. And then that first change I made wasn't enough, or I changed the wrong value, or anyway, trying to insert random behavior in an existing binary and then random behavior between binaries makes it really, really hard, especially if you've got a good release cadence for somebody to, and it's all about raising the difficulty, not necessarily making it impossible,
Yep.
Anyway, I love that article. That was a great find.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah, if you're technically inclined, go see what malware authors might be doing in a generally easy to follow, easy to understand. Anyways, great article.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have even another level of detail, but it was really good.
Well, he did say at the end of the article, we didn't tell you all our tricks because, we still need to try to keep some of the secret sauce out, to not make it to make it less easy to find pointers into how we're doing things.
Right. Well, there's a certain level of security by obscurity that goes into that, but things are a lot different now from 1999. Oh God, that was 19 years ago. Holy mackerel! Because at that point there's no HTTPS. You don't have client auth between the client. And it's easy to intercept on the network and just watch the packets and modify the packets in between. Anyway, it's at least for mature developed games, it's very different these days. All right, so I'll move to my topic here, which is a series of vulnerabilities were found in the QNAP NAS, so network attached storage device. This caught my eye. You actually posted it in our Slack channel, but caught my eye as you knew it would because I have a QNAP at home. I like it. I like it a lot. I had a Synology. I wasn't unhappy with the Synology, but when it came to upgrade from a 2-bay to a 6-bay, I decided to. I had another friend of ours give me a recommendation for QNAP, and he really raved about it. So I was like, well, I'll give it a shot. And I've been relatively happy with it. It does have some problems rebooting on its own for some reason. It comes up and basically boots forever until I turn it off, and then it boots fine. But whatever. I don't know what. It hasn't bugged me enough for me to get in and really, really figure out what happens. But you should probably do an update. And in fact, I should probably do an update maybe after this call. But what this is a whole raft of vulnerabilities. But it started with a API that you had to be authenticated. So you had to have a login onto the box. You had to, it wasn't available just from being on the same network as the box. But Uh, if you were authenticated, you could hit an API, and as part of the return data from that API was the administrator's password in plain text. I mean,
So you could be authenticated as not a super user
yep.
or not an admin, just Joe user, and you could get the admin password.
Yep, and you hit this API, and it's the first. The article that we'll link in here has links to all the different CVEs, but yeah, it basically, it's not. I mean, I guess not technically plain text in that it says this is my password, but base64 encoded, which is it's essentially plain text, right? I mean,
yeah,
there's no shouldn't be making any distinctions there, and so that was the root vulnerability that allowed you to do essentially privilege escalation. But then there were, I think, 4 other what they called command injection vulnerabilities. So kind of like SQL injection, but basically this is a little Linux box running on an ARM processor, right? Some of them are running on what was that other Intel line they used to have? Centrinos, something like that, like the low power ones.
Yeah.
Actually, I think mine's one of the ARM ones, but anyway, it's just running a little Linux kernel, right? And a lot of the APIs in their web API that say, hey, make this change or do whatever, they're just turning around and calling Linux command line commands, right?
Yep.
PASSWD for password change, whatever it is that they're doing. But essentially, they had some APIs that were not properly escaping their input, and basically you could do the equivalent of a SQL injection where you terminate one statement and just execute another one. So you can basically hit a semicolon and then cat something else into a file and chmod that and then execute it, right? So
right.
Something along those lines where you just being a normal user, then you could privilege escalate, then you can run other APIs and use the command to basically run anything, any command you want on the box. So it was a nasty little set of vulnerabilities, and really kind of caught my eye, as you knew it would.
Because remind you to update.
Yep. I'm pretty good about updating this thing, and it's they release updates very frequently.
I just gave up
impressed.
my Synology. So I have a Synology, and I just have it auto update all on its own. So I get a little notification. It feels like once a week saying, I'm going to update and reboot. It's like 3 a.m. once a week. I'm updating and we'll reboot. So
isn't that nice?
I love it.
Isn't that nice? I mean,
everything should auto update.
Everything will auto update. This is maybe not the place for this particular rant, but yeah, I think anybody who doesn't think that the Chrome model of software updates, because Chrome really did pioneer this, I think, is head in the sand, man. I mean, updates must succeed every single time, which means that you have to have a way to detect when it fails and leave it in a good working state when it doesn't work, when something goes wrong, and have telemetry to know when it went wrong so that you can, halt a rollout and fix it. And, there's requirements, that are kind of base level requirements for that kind of a updating strategy to really be successful. But it is relevant for the security industry in that, updates are getting more and more and more frequent. And oftentimes in our industry, we have, companies and people that have, month-long processes to validate this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And it's it's not going to fly forever. It might still work at the moment. Maybe it'll go for another few years, but Microsoft has gotten religion with Windows 10, right?
Yeah.
And their updates, and it's they've got some long-term support loopholes that some people are still falling into, banks and things like that. But that's the future.
Yeah,
got to get on the bandwagon.
Your mobile phones do it.
Yeah,
they update their apps. They don't update the operating system without you helping out. But apps just update.
Yep.
And yeah. Well, cool. I mean, hopefully, just another reminder there. Make sure whatever the device if you're listening, you probably have out of date devices somewhere in your house. Maybe you run around and make sure they're all up to date.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Hey, how about something fun?
All right. Do you want to go first? You want me?
Oh.
Because mine, I'm going to make you open a browser.
Okay. Well, mine's pretty quick. So all right. Let's. I guess I'll do mine first. So, I was almost asleep last night, and but I was watching The Daily Show with Trevor Noah. Used to be Jon Stewart. Loved Jon Stewart. Wish he was, but I like Trevor Noah. He's good. I think he's really kind of holding it. But anyway, not the point. The point is that a segment came on that I was like, okay, this has to be my something fun. So I know you watched this earlier because I made you, but
I did.
So this was I'll have the link to the Comedy Central, but it's just, it's funny because it's true, at least for me. I'm sorry. So I actually got to say what this is. So this was a Ronnie Chang is one of the Daily Show correspondents, and he did a segment on trendy chicken coops for the rich. So this is basically in Silicon Valley. Evidently, having chickens in your backyard is really fun, and so he's mocking these Silicon Valley software developers, entrepreneurs that are raising chickens for their colored eggs, that have greens and. Dude, we totally have that exact thing. I'm so sorry. I was like, oh, hey, look at that dozen eggs with all those colors. Yeah, we've got. I literally. This is really bad. I was kind of like, no, we've got all those colors. There weren't any colors there that I was like, ooh, we got, because we totally have chosen our chickens for like what color eggs they lay. And in fact, Shirley last summer went and drove like 50 miles to Estacada or someplace on the eastern Portland to buy a couple of chickens, specifically because they were supposed to lay kind of bluish eggs. And I got to say, they're more greenish. So whatever. Anyway,
well, you could fit in Silicon Valley.
I don't think I could. I don't think I could afford to live down there. But so that was like that was like hilarious, but then he says, like, literally, they're interviewing one of the software developer down there. He was like, yeah, but really chickens are like the gateway drug to bees. And I was just like, oh, I'm done. Oh my gosh.
You're out.
Well, he's like, oh, so the interviewer's like, oh, so what you're telling me is I've already missed the chickens, bees are that. And I'm like, no, okay, so I'm cool. I'm the cool guy. I don't know. Anyway, I thought this was hilarious. Well, it's a little, it's TV raunchy a little bit. So, anyway, yeah. I've got the link.
Well, and not to let throw you completely under the bus, because you and I have talked about it. Is I've tried to convince my wife to let me get chickens for the backyard. I did not know that this was a Silicon Valley software thing. I thought it was I just want yummy eggs.
Those eggs we had eggs for dinner, man. It was good. Anyway, that was funny. And yeah, you should totally get some chickens. One thing about this link, I don't know what the heck was up with it. Maybe it's Comedy Central video player. It was unwatchable when I tried to watch it right before the show. So hopefully they fix that, or maybe it was just my network, or I don't know what the deal was, but it was pausing every 15 seconds. I would normally blame my network, except Skype works, YouTube works. I don't know. Anyway, I didn't find it on YouTube. I found it on Comedy Central. So whatever. We'll put the link in there.
Yeah. It's a funny video. It's hilarious.
Dude, one of the ladies in there had stained glass windows in her chicken coop.
I know. She probably spent more on her house than I bought for my house that humans live in.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Whatever. There's got to be all those. All right. What's your something fun for me?
My something fun, Amazon treasure truck.
Yeah.
I got a Ring doorbell because I thought that'd be cool.
Awesome.
And then also the Nintendo Classic game console.
Yes.
Right. So the old original Nintendo console you can now get with an HDMI out and controllers, and you can play Super Mario.
Yeah.
And 29 other games. And so I got this, and I was showing my kids, this is what when I was your age, 30 plus years ago, this is what I played, and I thought it was great, and I'm trying to play them now. My daughter and I, the 15-year-old who's really not into video games, she's trying to play Donkey Kong Jr. with me, and neither of us can get past the first level. But that's the lead in to what my something fun is. All right, okay. So open up, it has to be Chrome.
All right, I got Chrome.
Tab, browser
up.
Tab, and load up jellymar.io. So it's Jelly Mario.
Oh, nice.
And you play with the arrow keys. Up arrow is jump, and then left and right.
Okay.
And you got to turn the volume up a little bit. So you up and down, and you play the level, but it's all jelly. So I don't know. It is just hilarious. The information of who built it and all is on the website. But if you like the old classic Super Mario game and just want to see a hilarious take on it, you can fly through the air because you can jump multiple times. You'll just keep going up and up and up.
Oh.
And left and right. You can do spins, and when you crash into something, it just kind of jellifies. It's hard to describe.
Hold on, I'm watching him. He's going to hit. Oh. Brutal. Oh, that was funny.
And then when you die, you just kind of do the Lego thing, turn into bits.
Okay.
It just kind of explodes into bits. Anyways, that's my something fun. Go check out jellymar.io.
Okay.
So Jelly Mario.
That is cool.
That's my something fun.
But I got to say, this is totally written in JavaScript, right?
I knew you were going to bring that up.
Okay. Well, just so long as you knew, then we're good. I don't want to disappoint.
All right. Well, I'm going fishing tomorrow.
All right. I
got to go get ready.
You have fun fishing, and thanks for the show. Have a good night.
Yep. See you, John.
Bye.